There we go. All right. So here we go. What we're going to do now, these next 3 worksheets are basically kind of the same thing, all right, except they just get incrementally just a little bit more, I don't know if it's difficult, but a little more challenging, I guess. So today we're going to do 1-step equations. Take a wild guess what we're going to do tomorrow. 2-step equations. And then after that, they call it multi-step equations. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4 steps, okay? But today we're just going to do 1-step equations. First of all, what is an equation? An equation always has a what? It kind of has the word in there. What word do you kind of see in there? Equals, that's right. So an equation always has an equal sign. So you got something equal to something else. So x equals 3. That's technically an equation, right? Here's a variable. We're telling what the variable is equal to. But what we're going to do, and you've done this before, this is not brand new to you, okay? But I'm going to teach it to you kind of like it's brand new, all right? Just in case, depending on what your background is for this kind of stuff. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually find what x is. They're going to give me an equation. So for instance, if I had, I'll start off super easy. What if I had 5x equals 10, right? So what does that mean, 5x equals 10? Well, you know what 5 is. You know what 10 is. You know what equals is. The only thing we don't know is what? What x is. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find what x is. So we're not doing what we did on the other worksheets. We're not just like adding like terms. We're not just, multiplying 2 numbers together. We've got to figure out what we're going to do in our next step, all right? And there is work to show. Don't just write down an answer. I know a lot of you, if not all of you, might be able to just look at this and tell me what x is equal to. Just in your head, tell me, what is x equal to? It's 2, because what does this say? This says 5 times something, or 5 times what, equals 10. And we all know that, right? 5 times 2 is equal to 10. So we could just say x is equal to 2, but let me show you the work involved. That's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that 5 and look at that x. What are they doing to each other? Are they multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting? What are they doing to each other? They're multiplying, right? It's 5 times x, isn't it? All right. So the way that we get rid of a number, I want to get x by itself. I want to just say x equals blank, and it's 2. I want to get x equals 2. How do I do that? I got to get rid of the 5. So how do we get in algebra? And again, you've had algebra 1 already, all right? So you should know this. But how do we get rid of something that's being multiplied? We divide. We do the what? In general, we do the opposite. That's right. We do the opposite. Okay, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide. This is how we show divide. I'm not going to do this little divide symbol thing, all right? I'm not doing that. I'm going to show it like this. I'm going to put it over 5. I'm going to divide by 5. Now in algebra, there's a basic rule. It's probably the most basic rule that you'll ever do in algebra, and it's probably one of the most important, if not the most important thing. That's right. Whatever you do to one side, finish that. You got to do the other side. You've heard that before a million times, haven't you? Yep. So whatever you do to one side, you got to do the other side. So if over here, if we got rid of the 5 right here by dividing, what do we have to do to the other side? We have to divide that by 5, exactly. All right? Now look what happens. Look what happens to that 5 and that 5. What do they do? Yeah, we always say cancel out, don't we? And I got no problem with saying cancel out. But why do they cancel out? Because I'm going to show you another problem. They do cancel out as well, but they cancel out for a different reason. And I think it's important to see why they cancel out. Because look, that's exactly right. Yep, exactly right. And that's exactly what I was looking for. 5 divided by 5. What's anything divided by itself? It's 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And then, so this becomes a 1, and it's 1. You don't have to write that 1 there. But 5 divided by 5 is 1. What's 1 times x? It's x. You understand why it cancels out? I have no problem with us saying cancel out, but I want us to know why they cancel out. Too many times kids say, oh, they all cancel out. But you got to know why. All right? They divide out to be a 1. 1 times x is x. Now we can do this division. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Just like you said. All right? And you could have done that in your head. I get it. But it's not going to take long before you won't be able to do some of these in your head. All right? And you got to show your steps. That's why I want you to show your steps early on. Let's do another one. What if I said x plus 2 equals, I don't know, let's go 8. Again, what is going on here? This is a plus. So I'm saying what number, if I add 2 to it, am I going to get 8? It'd be 6, right? So if I had 6 plus 2, 6 plus 2 equals 8, correct? And I could do that in my head. I get it. Most of you guys, if not all you guys, should be able to do that in your head. But I want you to show your steps. Now, just like up here, I said, what is that 5 doing to the x? Well, let's ask ourselves the same question. What is this 2 doing to that x? Is it being multiplied? Well, it's being added, isn't it? It's being added because of that plus that's in between the two. This didn't have a plus in between, did it? It was just right next to it. That means they were being multiplied. But this one, there's a plus in between. That means they're being added. How do we get rid of something? We always do the opposite. So what's the opposite of plus 2? It's minus 2. And then if we do that to the left side, we also have to do it to the right side. So I got minus 2, then I got minus 2. All right? And now, look what happens. What happens to the 2 and the minus 2? They cancel out. But let's see. Yeah, give me a sec. Why do they... I want everybody just to think about it for a sec. Why do they cancel out? Do they cancel out because it makes a 1? No. What do? They add up to 0. Right. See, positive 2 minus 2 is 0. What's x plus 0 is just x, isn't it? I don't have to put the 0 there, but that's what's happening. Am I okay with you just saying cancel out? Absolutely. It's fine. Every math teacher ever has said cancel out. I got no problem with it. But I want you to know why they cancel each other out. They cancel each other out because they add up to 0. And x plus 0 is x. Okay? And now we can do our math. 8 minus 2 is 6, and there we go. Simple. Would you agree? Yeah. Let's do another one that's a little bit trickier. I'll tell you what, I'll make one up. I'll just make one up. I won't use one from the worksheets. What if I had x divided by 7 equals 3? So write that down. And again, a lot of you, this may not be quite as easy as the other two, but I bet you almost everybody could look at this and come up with an answer. Anybody do that in your head? 21, that's right, because what are we doing? We're saying what number, what? What number, what's that thing? Divided by, right, what number divided by 7 is equal to 3? So I'm thinking my multiplication tables. All right, something divided by 7 is 3. Oh, yeah, what? 21 divided by 7 is 3. Now, you could answer this in your head, but I want you to show the steps. Everybody hear me on that? All right, I'll say it again. You could probably do this in your head, but I want you to show your step. There's only one step, all right? Well, yeah, kind of one step, all right? So that's what we're going to do. So what is this 7? Now, it's a little trickier. Not much, but a little bit. What's the 7 doing to that x? What are they doing right here? They're not multiplying. They're dividing right now, right? What are they doing to each other right now? They're dividing, right? How do I get rid of something? I always do the what? Opposite. So what's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by what? By 7. I'm going to put it up on top. I'll put it over 1. You don't have to, but I will. Okay? Now, if you multiply the left side by 7, what do you got to do? Multiply the right side by 7. So I'm going to multiply that by 7. You don't really need the over 1 here because there's no fractions, right? So watch what happens. This 7 on top does what? Cancels out with that 7 on the bottom. So really, again, it's 7 divided by 7, which is 1. 1 times x over 1 is just x. And now you can just do that math. 3 times 7, 21, just like we said it was going to be, right? And you could always put it back in and check, couldn't you? Put that 21 back in for the x. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Yep, we're good. So it checks. Make sense? Let me see what else they got here. I can't think of any other options on this stuff. Yeah, I think we covered everything. Let's do one. I'll do one right from the worksheet. This one might be a little trickier just because of the signs, okay? The step itself shouldn't be that big of a deal. And they also put the x on the right-hand side. X doesn't always have to go on the left-hand side. It seems like when you first learn this stuff, teachers always put the x on the left-hand side, and I kind of did today, all right? But let's put it on the right-hand side right here. So this may not be quite as easy, all right, to just do in your head, all right? So let's definitely show a step on this one. So first of all, what is that 15 doing to that x? Subtracting. What do? We do the opposite. What's the opposite of subtraction? It's addition. So I'm going to put a plus 15. I'm going to do that to the right side. So that means I also got to do it to the left side. So I'm going to add a 15 over here. Put a little line. All right. What happens is minus 15 plus 15. They cancel out, or they add up to what? 0. So x plus 0 is x. Now, let's do this. This is kind of the stuff that we just did on the quiz, isn't it? Negative 17 plus 15. Yep, so that means they're different signs, right? So what do? You subtract the two numbers, take the sign of the bigger number. So if I subtract those two numbers, 17 minus 15, I get 2. But my sign is going to be negative because 17 is my bigger number. It's negative, so that's going to be negative. So you could write it like this, but I kind of like, what's a nicer way to write it than negative 2 equals x? X equals negative 2. You don't have to. It just looks a lot nicer, so let's just make sure we do that, okay? You could have written negative 2 equals x, circled it, been fine. You get full credit, no biggie, all right? But it just looks a whole lot nicer if you just say x equals negative 2. Everybody good? Am I boring some people? Sounds like it. All right, I'm looking at this worksheet, and I really don't see anything different than what we've been doing. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right? When I printed these, I forgot to write the number of the worksheet on the top. So first thing, when I hand out the worksheet to you, this is called worksheet 7. All right, so write a 7 at the top, because that's how I'm going to be referring to these worksheets. Okay, it'll be 7, 8, and 9. So make sure you put a 7 at the top. Okay, you can circle it, whatever, I don't care. But it's worksheet number 7. And that's our homework, is that it's called one-step equations, just like the lesson was. And that'll be due tomorrow. And I'll give you the rest of the time. You got, what, is it 10 till? Yeah. So you got 8 minutes. That's plenty of time. You should be able to do at least 4 or 5 of them, okay? So maybe more. All right, that's enough. Make sure you have that finished for tomorrow.